I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.
I don't know if you guys know this, but when Israel was able to get the United States to attack Iran on their behalf, that made Israel the envy of the world. It made Israel the envy of the world because no one knew openly how much influence and control over the American administration, but also the American arsenal, our military. No one knew how much control Israel had. Now, don't get me wrong, we send them billions a year. Everyone knew that we kind of have this strange, beholden relationship to them. They call themselves our greatest ally, but I've never seen them do anything for us. They don't send billions to us every year. It's simply a one-sided relationship. From what I can tell, everything is so much happening in the world right now. And if you're not like me, and I watch the news every day, it's my job to report on it, and I read it, and I explain it to people. If you're not myself who's keeping up, everything looks very confusing. But I'm going to try to put it in perspective to make it easier for you to understand. The reason it seems very confusing is because a lot of people don't realize that there is a war happening. It's kind of a secret war between two very powerful factions, but they are fighting kind of a proxy war. The two factions I'm speaking of are the World Economic Forum, which was being headed by Klaus Schwab, who is an Austrian but a German. But on the other side are the Zionists, the Jewish Zionists of Israel under Benjamin Netanyahu. You know, it's actually kind of funny when I say this out loud because, well, the whole thing with the Holocaust and the Nazis. Klaus Schwab sounds like one of them. And who were the people they were targeting back then? The Netanyahu's people. That's not even a coincidence. It's just another part that adds to my evidence that we're watching a proxy war unfold. Well, Rico, what are they fighting over? They're fighting over the United States and its arsenal and its military. The fact that Israel is able to wield the United States military against their enemies, and they've done it before. Look at Iraq. Look at Syria. Look at Lebanon. Look at all these other countries in the Middle East that we have no vested interest in these countries falling. Israel is who literally sent us to fight these people. And they used to use manipulation and false flags. Many people say that's what 9/11 was. And they said that, and many people have reported, and they were able to prove that the Zionists were behind it. From the man who got the insurance payout, from the fact that certain businesses owned by certain people were closed on that day. It all just furthers the fact that they do these things to manipulate the United States military. But they do it to manipulate the administration, and they have these spectacles, these false flags, to get the American people to support such actions that we would normally not want to. For the most part, Americans are America first. We don't believe in foreign wars, foreign engagements. We don't want anything to do with it. So they sucker us by pulling on our heartstrings, and they convince us to hate people that we've never met on the other side of the world. But it's really the Israelis that hate these people. It's not us. It's the Zionists hate these countries. It's not American people. But unfortunately, when it comes to this country, when it comes to the Zionists, our government doesn't care what the American people think. It's magically the same issue that I had with Charlie Kirk, that he was correcting, the same issue I have with Trump. The same issue I have with Greg Abbott and DeSantis. It seems like everybody is very logical and very smart, but magically, when it comes to this country and the Zionists, they just turn full retard and their brain falls out their ass and they're no longer going to think. Logic goes out the window. Completely sensible, logical men, magically, when it comes to this one country, they just completely fall apart and they can no longer think for themselves, which is weird. But I found some footage I want to play for you guys, and I want you to tell me what you think. A woman cannot have two husbands. Men can have multiple wives, but a woman cannot have two husbands. Right now, the two husbands are the Zionists of Israel and the World Economic Forum. Those are the two men. And the prize, the woman, is the United States, America. That's her name. That's the prize. Let me play some of my evidence.
אבל אנחנו הולכים למסלול התנגשות עם הממשל האמריקאי. ארצות הברית זה לא מקשה אחת, זה לא מקשה אחת. יש את הסנאט, יש את הקונגרס, יש את הכוח.
He says we have the Senate, the Congress, and a strong record with the Jewish lobby on our side. Now, this is from the 80s, and this is still the same player. Netanyahu, before I was even born, this guy was a major player, and he's still on the world stage, still a major player. Out of all the billions of people on earth, the same guy.
יהודי שהוא עצום, יותר חזק משהיה אי פעם. יש דעת קהל, יש לנו כוחות כבירים בדעת הקהל שמתנגדים למדיניות הזאת. גדולי הפרשנים.
America won't force us into anything.
אמריקה לא תכפה עלינו דבר, אם לא נבל.
Now, what he's saying is true from what we can tell. They have control over our Senate, our Congress, our House of Representatives, because they own our politicians. Everyone knows the money in politics is one of the greatest evils in our country, and money should not be in politics, and we wouldn't have all these problems. All these people are for sale. This is what else he said as well.
במיוחד היום עם אמריקה, אתה יודע מה זה אמריקה? זה לא שאפשר להזיז אותו בקלות, להזיז לכיוון הנכון. יש שאלה,
He's saying that if we want to go after the Palestinians, and the lady asks, well, what will the Americans say? And he's like, we don't care what the Americans say. So what, they say something. And basically, he is a stable leader long term. America changes presidents every 4 or 8 years. So what he's saying is that he has consistent control over the permanent bureaucracy of the country, which is basically what we refer to as the deep state. He's in his own way saying that he's in control of the deep state. He's in control of our permanent bureaucracy. That's why we need time limits on these positions, in my opinion.
זה אבסורד, יש לנו שם תמיכה כזו, ואנחנו רואים מה נעשה עם
80% is what he thinks.
אנחנו הולכים למסלול התנגשות עם הממשל האמריקאי. ארצות הברית זה לא מקשה אחת, זה לא מקשה אחת. יש את הסנאט, יש את הקונגרס, יש את הכוח היהודי שהוא...
Now, this is why I brought up this video, is because the World Economic Forum essentially says they have the same control over countries that are a part of the WEF and the UN. The United States falls under. But how can this be? There cannot be two masters. How is it that the Israel lobby has the Senate, the Congress, and the House, but so does the World Economic Forum? And I think that's where we're starting to see a break. That's the conflict. The World Economic Forum wants to upend the Israeli influence, move them out of the way, and take Israel's place, with having as far as the influence over our arsenal, where we can attack anywhere we want to on Earth at any time. This is what Klaus Schwab says. He's verbatim pretty much saying the exact same thing Netanyahu said, except he specifically brings up Trudeau in Canada, but he's also talking about the US as well. Take a listen.
But what we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina, and so on.
You know what's crazy? When you hear the World Economic Forum, Young Leaders of Tomorrow, for the most part, none of them are Israel. None of them are Jewish. And that's strange because they usually make up a lot of our politicians around the world. Matter of fact, even the Mexican president is Jewish now. But he names off Trudeau and President Milei of Argentina. They're not Jewish. They're not Israeli, which is showing you that there are certain people on one side and then there's another side. That's why I said there's a conflict here that's in the shadows, but there's two sides, two opposing sides. There cannot be two masters. So they're both fighting for influence over these countries. And listen to what he says.
That we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was on a so on. That we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was on at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
Half. So there's no way you can split these countries in half. Half are with the World Economic Forum and half are with Israel. World Economic Forum wants all the control. Israel wants all the control. They're both fighting for control. The main goal is the United States. So what they're doing is they are infiltrating the countries around us. So to the north, in Canada, the World Economic Forum has full control over their cabinets and over their officials. If you go to our south, we have Claudia Sheinbaum. That doesn't sound like a Mexican last name to me. So that means the Zionists have the south, the World Economic Forum has the north, and they're both fighting over control over who's going to win America. When you go to look at all this stuff going on, look at this pro-Palestine protests in Oakland. These protests are bought and paid for. If you're pro-Palestine, you're anti-Israel. The world economic, think about it. These are not regular people who just happen to all be neighbors and they organize to come out and protest. Someone is organizing these groups. Someone is funding these groups. And they've been able to consistently keep the pressure on the Israeli influence in the United States. They've kept their foot on their neck for years now. Since 2020, ever since the invasion, what was that, 2022? They have been on Israel every week, all around the country, protests for Palestine, literally interrupting. They're still, think about it, these people are painted up, dressed up. Who sent them? Who's paying for this? There is a war. Now, they know in America you can't just use kinetic war because we all have guns, but they're gonna use influence. They're gonna use media. Now, the reason also another more evidence that there's a war. Look, this is a Free Palestine protester interrupts Hillary Clinton.
Thank you very much.
Diane Ronald Clinton.
That's my name. That's right.
Criminal. The people of Libya, the people of Iraq, the people of Syria, the people of Yemen,
all countries that the United States have attacked on behalf of Israel. She works for them. But for our politicians that are not aligned with the Israeli cause, they're aligned with the World Economic Forum. So I go to ChatGPT and I look up media groups. It turns out, just as of yesterday, the Israeli Zionists and their affiliates have pretty much purchased up half of American media. What an odd thing to do. Why? And in APAC, they literally had to register. This group had to register. They have to disclose what they're doing. So it's called Foreign Agency Registration, so FARA, and we find out that these different media institutions have all been they're now all controlled by Israel. They're controlled by the Zionists. ABC, which has ABC. I mean, Disney has ABC, ESPN, and Hulu. They're actually being controlled by the World Economic Forum. But guess who bought up TikTok, CBS, and all these other institutions? Larry Ellis and these other Zionists who are Israel aligned. They even bought up TikTok. Literally, a Candace Owen post that doesn't have any cursing or anything was just literally flagged, and I received a strike on my Instagram account. And the video's been up. All of a sudden, now that Larry Ellis and the Zionists own TikTok, now censorship is coming in. When you look up who owns the institutions that didn't get purchased by Israel recently, who owns the other 50%? It's all people connected to Davos and the World Economic Forum. There's literally only two sides. You're either with the World Economic Forum or you're with the Zionists. The problem is this. When you're going to have to choose which side you're on, how do you choose the genocidal enemy that you do know over the evil, potentially genocidal new enemy that you don't know? My question is, what if Israel loses to the World Economic Forum? What does that look like? Is it going to be a dead man switch like Candace Owens was talking about, where Israel's like, look, if I can't have her, America, then no one can. Are they gonna if they lose, are they gonna make sure we go down with them? Or are they gonna just concede power to the World Economic Forum and peacefully bow out and go back to their country? I don't know. I don't know what it looks like, but I think we should start asking questions. I think we should try to find out what's gonna happen. And then if Israel is removed and the World Economic Forum wins and they all of a sudden have the control and influence, what does that look like? They propose if the United States is no longer a superpower, they want to basically create a technocratic communist state where basically everything is tracked, traced, and database and surveilled. What is it called? Where they do and who you come in contact tracing. They literally want to make a medical technocratic communist state around the world. So that's what the plans are for the World Economic Forum. They've already disclosed that. That's their goals. Klaus Schwab has talked about it many times. His second in command is a man by Yuval Noah Harari, and he said humans are just hackable animals. We can program them now, and so that's their plan, is to merge humans with machines, similar to what Elon Musk wants to do. But okay, that's what the World Economic Forum, that's their plan for us if they win. But what's Israel's plan if they win? Well, Israel's pushing the LGBTQ and all the gay agendas. But actually, they own a lot of that stuff. But the World Economic Forum is controlled by gay men who are cross-dressers. Klaus Schwab is a gay man. Harari is a gay man. Macron, obviously, him and his husband. He's one of the global world leaders of tomorrow. Big Mike Obama. They're all a part of the World Economic Forum. And they're all presidents who are married to men who are pretending to be women. So when it comes to that agenda, that's where the Zionists and the World Economic Forum, that's where they overlap. On the LGBT and the trans and all that, that's where they overlap. That's both of their agendas. It seems like they're both going in different directions. Israel's fighting to maintain control. The World Economic Forum is fighting against Israel to upend their control over the United States. But the problem is, if you're hoping that the Zionists lose, well, then there's going to be a new master, a master that we don't know, a master that sent us into lockdowns. That they were a big part of this whole push to, but I'll be honest, it seems like they were all working together at one time to get the lockdowns and to get everything into people's bodies, into your bloodstream. But now at this point, well, there can't be two masters, so who's going to be number one? So now they're all just kind of stabbing each other in the back because maybe they didn't believe it was going to work. And now that it went through and it worked, now they're like, so who's going to be number one and who's going to be number two and number three? Nobody went through all this trouble just to be number two. So now they got to fight it out to see who's going to be number one. Now, this is just me. This is what I believe. This is what the evidence is pointing towards with me. You're either aligned with the World Economic Forum or you're aligned with the Zionists of Israel. Both of them those are the two masters. And when I look into this, this is what I see. So now I'm giving it to you. You guys can make your own decisions. Tell me what you think, if you see it or not. But those are the two sides that are fighting, and we are just caught in the middle. We're in the crossfire. We're in the crossfire. So leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any thoughts, the Cash App is $, the single boyfriend. If you want to buy me a coffee, I appreciate all the donations and the super chats. Even though I'm not monetized, I get the messages and I respond in the comments. We're on 8 different platforms right now. I do appreciate the support. And I will be back with another episode in a few minutes. I think the next episode we're talking about is, ICE cleaning out entire apartment buildings and how that will help get rid of this whole housing crisis. And it's going to bring rent prices down for tenants now that the illegals are gone. So we're going to go over that in a second. So I'll see you guys again shortly if you're going to tune in. I'm Right Wing Rico, the single boyfriend. And I will see you guys again shortly.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.